On a September morning in 2012, a promising young college student was found brutally murdered in her off-campus apartment in Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
I just walked into my apartment and my friend was just like, he's unconscious.
Okay, what's your address, ma'am?
I live at Hawkeye at the View.
You say your friend is unconscious?
He's unconscious. I just walked in the apartment and there looks like there's...
As a result, an arrest nearly a decade in the making has been made.
Today is an important day as we announce that we have arrested Miguel Salguero-Olivares, age 28, of Durham.
Faith Hedgepeth, just 19 years old, and a junior studying biology who hoped to become a pediatrician, was beaten to death in what would become one of the most extensively investigated cold cases in the state's history. For nearly a decade, her family, her community, and law enforcement searched desperately for answers. What makes this story even more heartbreaking is what Faith represented, not just to her family, but to an entire community that saw her as a beacon of hope and possibility. Faith Hedgepeth was the youngest child of Roland and Connie Hedgepeth, born in Warren County and raised in Hollister, a small town straddling the Warren-Halifax County border. She was a member of the Haliwa-Saponi tribe, a state-recognized Native American community whose name derives from Halifax and Warren counties, the ancestral homeland where approximately 80% of tribal members still live within a 6-mile radius of Hollister. Her mother gave her the name Faith because that's what she believed was needed to raise 4 children, especially during difficult times when her husband struggled with substance abuse. Faith's parents divorced within her first year of life, and she was primarily raised by her mother with significant help from her older sister. Despite the distance, her father had moved roughly 4 hours away. Faith maintained a close relationship with both parents. Roland Hedgepeth would later describe his daughter as more than just a child to him. She arrived during one of his lowest moments, and her presence gave him purpose. She kept him moving forward. She was, in every sense, his faith. She would have been the first person in her family to graduate from college. Chief Ogletree Richardson of the Haliwa-Saponi tribe later recalled Faith as an inspiring and aspiring young woman, happy, joyful, constantly positive, and a role model for younger girls in the community. Her ambitions were clear and selfless. She wanted to become a pediatrician and eventually return to serve the community that had shaped her. Alternatively, she considered teaching, any path that would allow her to help children and give back. During her time at Chapel Hill, Faith pursued these dreams with characteristic determination. She studied biology, maintained her connection to her Native American heritage, and even explored joining Alpha Pi Omega, a historically Native American sorority. She was building something meaningful, not just a career, but a legacy that would extend beyond herself to uplift others. The evening of September 6, 2012, began like many others for college students. At 5:45 that Thursday evening, Faith attended a rush event for Alpha Pi Omega, the campus chapter of the sorority she hoped to join. She left around 7:15, mentioning she needed to work on a paper about the history of her tribe. Faith and her roommate, Karina Rosario, known to friends as Rosie, decided to spend some time studying. They went to the university's Davis Library around 8 o'clock. During this time, Faith exchanged text messages with her father about her hopes of joining the sorority. Around 11:30, they returned to their apartment at Hawthorne at the View, an off-campus complex surrounded by trees with only one entrance and exit. Their night didn't end there. Around midnight, the 2 young women headed back out to a downtown nightclub called The Thrill, a popular venue with students that admitted those under 21 for dancing. They arrived shortly before 1 in the morning. Somewhere during the night at the club, Karina began feeling unwell. Surveillance cameras captured the 2 friends leaving together just after 2 in the morning. They drove back to their second-floor apartment in Faith's car, arriving around 3 o'clock. What happened next remains partially shrouded in uncertainty. A neighbor who lived directly below their apartment was awake, watching television in the early morning hours. She reported hearing 3 distinct thumping sounds, heavy, like furniture being overturned or a weighty bag being dropped to the floor. The sounds came from the apartment above her. Around this same time, Faith's Facebook account showed activity. At 3:40 in the morning, a text message was sent from Faith's phone to Brandon Edwards, Karina's former boyfriend. The message read strangely, asking Edwards to come over, saying Karina needed him, ending with unusual phrasing. 3 minutes later, another text was sent, just a single word, possibly an attempt to correct the previous message. These would be the last communications from Faith's phone. At 4:16, Edwards sent a response asking who had sent the messages. Around 4:30 that morning, Karina left the apartment. A friend picked her up and she reportedly left the apartment door unlocked. She later told investigators that Faith had been asleep in bed when she departed. Karina spent the remainder of the morning at her friend's place. Around 10:30, she tried calling Faith for a ride home. Faith didn't answer. After trying multiple times without success, Karina called another friend named Marisol, who agreed to drive her back to the apartment. They arrived around 11 o'clock that morning. What they found inside would haunt everyone involved forever. Faith's body lay on the floor near her bed. The scene was devastating in its brutality. She had been beaten to death, suffering severe blunt force trauma to her head. Her shirt had been pulled up over her face. She wore no clothing from the waist down. A blanket partially covered her body. The murder weapon was later determined to be an empty Bacardi rum bottle found at the scene. But there was something else, something that suggested deep personal anger. On a discarded takeout bag near Faith's body, someone had scrawled a message in dark ink. "I'm not stupid, jealous." The handwriting was rough, hurried. The emergency call came shortly after.
I just walked into my apartment and my friend was just he's unconscious.
Okay, what's your address, ma'am?
I live at Hawthorne at the View.
You say your friend is unconscious?
He's unconscious. I just walked in the apartment and there looks like there's blood everywhere.
Okay, listen to me. Okay, listen to me. Okay, how old is she?
She's 19.
Listen to me. Is she breathing?
I don't know.
You need to check and see. Is she breathing?
I don't think so.
Okay, listen to me.
There's blood everywhere. She's on her back, but I think she fell off the bed because she's off the bed. There's blood all over the pillows, in the comforter. I just don't know what happened.
A handwritten message. The investigation began immediately and intensively. Authorities understood they were dealing with something brutal, a young woman attacked in her own home with shocking violence. The questions were endless. Who had been there? How did they get in? What was their connection to Faith? What did that cryptic message mean? Several individuals quickly became persons of interest. Karina Rosario herself faced scrutiny, as roommates often do in such cases. Her former boyfriend, Eric Tacoy Jones, drew particular attention from investigators. There were reports he had expressed anger and resentment toward Faith, allegedly even threatening her life if he couldn't reconcile with Karina. Faith's own college boyfriend, Ty Michael McNeil, was also questioned extensively. DNA samples were collected from all of them. None matched the genetic material found at the crime scene. The investigation expanded dramatically. Police conducted thousands of interviews throughout the community. They collected DNA samples from hundreds of men, eventually testing more than 700 individuals. The apartment complex had no surveillance cameras that covered the relevant areas. The forensic evidence was abundant, but didn't match anyone in existing databases. In an effort to generate new leads, authorities released evidence to the public in 2014. They shared details about the crime scene, including information about the handwritten note and other evidence. They held press conferences. They appealed for anyone with information to come forward. Within days of the murder, Multiple organizations contributed to a reward fund. The university's Board of Trustees, the local Crime Stoppers chapter, the Haliwa Saponi tribe, and the apartment complex collectively offered $29,000 for information leading to an arrest. Governor Bev Perdue later added another $10,000. In 2016, investigators tried something innovative. Using genetic ancestry technology and DNA found at the crime scene, they worked with forensic experts to create a composite image, showing what the suspect might look like based on genetic markers. The technology suggested someone of Native American and European mixed ancestry, or Latino heritage. The image was released publicly, with authorities emphasizing it didn't rule out anyone else potentially involved. Still, years passed without a breakthrough.
Nearly a decade, Chapel Hill police moved forward in their efforts to get justice for Faith Hedgepeth.
It was a cold case for nearly a decade. The murder of Faith Hedgepeth remained unsolved until today. Her extraordinary and amazing life cut short by an act of violence.
Yeah, this new development is such a happy and sad moment for so many people who have been following this case from the beginning, including...
The person arrested was Miguel Salguero-Olivares, 28 years old, from Durham. He was charged with first-degree murder in Faith's death and held without bond. Remarkably, he had not been an initial suspect or even a person of interest when the investigation began. Investigators used genetic material recovered from the crime scene to identify distant family members who shared genetic markers with the suspect. These relatives cooperated with authorities, providing interviews and their own DNA samples, which eventually led investigators to Salguero-Olivares. Records indicate Salguero-Olivares came to the United States from Guatemala in 2010, approximately 2 years before Faith's murder. At the time of his arrest, he was working as a painter and had most recently lived in Durham, though he previously resided at an apartment complex in Chapel Hill. The arrest came about following what might seem like an unrelated incident. In August 2021, Salguero-Olivares was arrested for driving while impaired. He listed his employer as a pizzeria during that arrest. It was through this arrest that authorities were able to obtain his DNA, which matched the profile from Faith's crime scene. At the press conference announcing the arrest, law enforcement officials spoke about the years of dedication that had gone into this case. They described how Faith had never been forgotten, how her case had remained active even when public attention waned. They acknowledged the pain her family had endured and their commitment to finally bringing justice. Faith's mother, Faith Hedgepeth, spoke through tears of joy mixed with grief. She thanked God for allowing her to live long enough to see this day. She acknowledged she didn't understand why it had taken so long, but she trusted in divine timing. She expressed profound gratitude to the Chapel Hill Police Department, the State Bureau of Investigation, and everyone who had worked tirelessly on her daughter's case. Faith's father, Roland, echoed these sentiments. 9 years and 9 days, he had counted every one. He thanked God for giving him the strength to reach this moment, but the story doesn't end with the arrest. In November 2024, prosecutors expanded the charges against Salguero-Olivares to include first-degree burglary, first-degree rape, and first-degree sexual offense. The case has proven complex, with more than 39,000 pages of evidence and expectations of 30 expert witnesses at trial. In May 2025, while detained at Durham County Jail awaiting trial, Salguero-Olivares faced additional charges: 3 felony drug offenses, including possession of methamphetamine, possession on jail premises, and possession with intent to distribute. As of January 2025, attorneys for both sides indicated they were ready to schedule a trial expected to last at least a week, with the case moving past administrative proceedings toward actual courtroom proceedings. Throughout these legal developments, Faith's family has remained present. They have attended every hearing, maintaining the vigil they've kept since that terrible September morning in 2012. As the legal process continues, questions remain. What exactly happened in those early morning hours? What was the connection between Faith and her accused killer? Will there finally be complete answers for a family that has waited more than a dozen years? What cannot be questioned is the love Faith inspired, the hope she represented, and the determination of those who refused to let her case go cold.